I'm Kusha Karvandi, and you're listening to Exerscribe Radio, the source for biohacking your health to reach your full potential. I created Exerscribe to provide people with a roadmap to working out. With our new workout app, you can get a custom workout program that adapts your workouts to your body type, goals, sleep quality, stress levels, and personal preferences. With live chat support, our workout app has become so comprehensive some call it a personal trainer in your pocket. Our users are seeing over 90% success rates with their goals because we take the neural approach to fitness, meaning we integrate movements and exercises that recalibrate your brain and body to prime you for rapid strength gains and fat loss. Check out the Exerscribe workout app in the iTunes App Store today. In today's podcast, I interview serial entrepreneur Sebastian Nienaber from Hacking Happiness. Sebastian's company, Hacking Happiness, holds events around the world to help bring together the best minds on how to empower people's lives through working more productively, understanding our minds, and living more healthily. Through their conferences, Hacking Happiness helps people find reliable information on how to unlock their full potential. Hey everyone, we're here on Exerscribe Radio with the founder of Hacking Happiness, Sebastian Nienaber. Welcome, Sebastian.
Hey, Kusha, how are you doing? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely. So just to get us started, could you tell the audience a little bit about you and your background?
Sure, I'd be glad. So I worked in the startup entrepreneurship space for a couple of years. That's pretty much my background. I usually work at the intersection of technology and business, or engineering and business. So I worked with many startups in the UK and then Germany. And over time, throughout the years, I've been always interested in things like meditation and nutrition, generally well-being modalities. And over the years, I just wanted to fuse these two passions of mine, one being entrepreneurship and the other being well-being, performance-related themes, into a new venture. And this is kind of how Hacking Happiness came about.
Awesome. So what is exactly Hacking Happiness?
Well, Hacking Happiness starts off as a summit on human potential, performance, and well-being in London in mid-November this year. We see that there's a zeitgeist of more and more people trying to find out how they function physically, mentally, and emotionally, and being interested in taking more responsibility for their well-being and their life at large. We want to tap into the zeitgeist and bring together great minds and experts on fields like productivity, entrepreneurship, fitness, healthy living, neuroscience, meditation, and so forth. Beyond the conference in November here in London, we want to build sort of a media company in the space of human potential, performance, and well-being.
Very nice. So where have you guys held some of these conferences? Just in London so far?
This one is actually the first one in London. I've been involved with a conference called Tech Open Air Berlin for a couple of years now, which is in Berlin and more tech-focused. The focus on sort of human potential, performance, and well-being of Hacking Happiness is a new one. And the summit here in November is actually the first one.
Very nice. And how many people do you anticipate will be there?
So we're expecting about 400 to 500 people at the conference day. And we have satellite days across town where we have satellite events in collaboration with partners like Google, Tri-Yoga, General Assembly, and many other partners. And for those, and in total, we're looking at probably like 2,000 people. But like the conference day as such, will probably draw between 400 and 500 people.
Nice. That's awesome. And who are some of the speakers at the event?
Oh, yeah. So it's a diverse mix of people from the space of sort of entrepreneurship, productivity, as well as sort of neuroscience, meditation, as well as sort of healthy living, fitness, exercise. To name a few people, we have Dr. David Cox on board, who is the Chief Medical Officer at Headspace, the very famous meditation app. We have Daria Rose coming from the West Coast, who's a neuroscientist and author of food books, nutritional books, and she also runs the blog Summer Tomato. We have the guys who Levi Felix, who founded the Digital Detox, also coming from San Francisco. We're really excited to have Adam Pawlowski on board. He's the author of A Quarter Life Breakthrough, which is quite sort of epitomizing the themes that we're all about. So it's a diverse bunch of people coming from different fields, but all with the kind of common denominator of taking more responsibility for your life, of this new demographic of digital pioneers and creative, digital natives and creative pioneers taking more responsibility for their life.
I love it. One of the most interesting things is that, I've been going through a few neuroscience-based certification courses for personal training, and I was shocked to see how many of the people who were paying, $3,000 to go to this thing were not even trainers. They were just individuals who just really wanted to understand their body and understand how the brain influenced all of it. So it's pretty interesting to see that there's many people out there that really want to master this stuff.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I think what's happening in the last 5 to 10 years, where a lot of practices and modalities like meditation or yoga have been kind of coming out of the spiritual new age corner and more getting more and more validation scientifically that there's proof that there's a positive and immediately trackable effect of these practices, which for a lot of people is now gives them the security to venture into practices which they would have considered a bit, new agey or hippie before. And this also happening at the same time with this convergence between Eastern philosophy and Eastern practices and Western scientific understanding. So I think it's a super exciting time for, exploring your mind, understanding how these things function.
I agree. But what do you think technology's role will be in all of this?
Well, it's a good question. I think technology offers an amazing opportunity to become more aware of our patterns and habits. So, especially when you talk about sort of quantified self and tracking possibilities, these things offer us a great deal of insight in how we behave and what are the effects of our behaviors. But at the same time, I'm quite careful and wary sometimes of being conscious of how to apply these technologies, because while they can help us to be more aware of like what has a certain food or like exercise, what effects it has on our, emotional, physical, and mental well-being, it can also become a burden over time where you're just tracking things to no end, and it becomes sort of a burden in itself, the tracking, the fact that you're tracking. So I think it's sort of it's a fine line between using technology for a clear benefit and yet not abusing it or becoming dependent on it.
Yeah, no, I'm a firm believer that I feel that most of the technologies that are out there right now for fitness tracking are more of a novelty than a utility. And that's why when I created the Exerscribe app, I really kind of kept that in mind to try to make it more of a utility that would actually provide more function than just really bombard you with useless data. And a lot of people that I've seen with things like the Fitbit or the Jawbone Up wristband and those things, they seem all gung-ho about it when they first get it and wear it. But I tell all of them, I say, you're not going to be wearing that a week from now. And sure enough, a
Yeah.
week or two later, none of them are wearing it because, having more data isn't necessarily the solution. It's having more actionable data, having something that actually influences you to interrupt your patterns, because we're all creatures of habit, right? So if we don't have some kind of pattern interrupt that leads us in a different direction, a better, more optimal direction, then it's not really beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
So are you familiar with Dave Asprey and guys like Tim Ferriss in this kind of biohacking space?
Yes, yes. I mean, not. I mean, I haven't read. I'm not keeping up with all the podcasts these guys are producing, but I sure know the books and Bulletproof Executive and all of that. I'm sure aware of that.
Nice. Yeah, it seems to me that there's there's definitely some good stuff about the things that these guys are putting out there, but the downfall of what I see is that a lot of these guys come from a background in blogging and internet marketing to begin with, and they kind of dub themselves with this so-called title of being an expert in this field, when in fact the stuff the knowledge that they're putting out there for people is inherently incorrect. A lot of the stuff they're preaching is wrong, but people, just like CrossFit or any other fad program, people will latch onto it if it makes any amount of sense. And so I think that that's kind of the inherent problem with with health and fitness and with the junction of technology and the internet, is that people will just immediately go to the internet to try to find a solution. They'll stumble upon these things and they think that that's what they need to be doing for themselves, when it could be creating a world of disaster internally.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's going to be an interesting sort of development over the next few years, where the space of health and well-being is going to get more and more crowded, because there's more hardware coming in, and software is just going to get better and more savvy. So yeah, I mean, you see people like Dave Asprey. He's marketing himself a fair bit and selling a lot of products, obviously. So I mean, more power to him. From my perspective, he's doing well. It's for me. There's the saying, horses for courses. So some people will be drawn to different things. So if you really dig deeper into some of these products or the advice which has been given, it's always good to remain critical and be aware when someone's tilting a bit too much maybe into self-marketing. But again, I think generally the whole sort of momentum of what's being offered in the space can just be applauded, because people, compared to like 10, 15, 20 years, there wasn't even the intention of, finding out, and this notion of self-betterment, which is more science and data-driven. The whole sort of trend of self-development or self-betterment was still connected to like self-help books and patchouli flowers and just hippy dippy retreats. I think it's quite overall a good applaudable development that science and data is coming into this space, and inherently it makes it a bit more marketable and commodified. And yeah, so people are drawn to different things. So I don't think it's wrong what Dave Asprey or Timothy Ferriss are doing.
No, I think that definitely what they're preaching is probably 10 times better than what the average couch potato is doing. My thing is that I have some friends who actually spoke at Dave Asprey's biohacking conference in Pasadena last month. And even they said that, it's a good thing you didn't waste the $2,000 to come, because it was just a big Dave Asprey sales pitch, And that's my problem with that, is that, it's good to put good content and good products out there for people. And I certainly think that the people who develop these products, whether they be supplements or technology or whatever, there should definitely be some wealth creation for them, for creating value for people. But at the same time, that they shouldn't try to outpace that by overhyping their stuff and overcharging people $2,000 to go to this conference just to get a sales pitch. Seems kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think one should, I personally take a very long-term look on these things. And for me, hacking happiness, for instance, obviously I don't want to make a living out of it, and preferably I would like to live well from it. But for me, primarily the intention behind it is about education, of bringing little hacks and insights and tools to a greater number of people to make these things a bit more accessible than they were before. So people who are working with David Asprey or similar people, they might be working with them now, and they might praise them now, but over time, people, rise in consciousness, and they might transition to other things. So I think it's just to be rooted and grounded in what you believe in and what your values are, and not care so much of like people making a big business or a buck out of it in a very short-term scenario.
Yeah, no, that's true. One thing that's really interesting is that, terms like hacking or biohacking, you kind of almost have some kind of negative connotation associated with it, because people are still thinking, when they think hacking, they think of like the 1990s movie Hackers, and they think like, people plugging into the system and just creating malware and all kinds of problems. But what does hacking really mean to you, especially in the case of hacking happiness?
That's a great question. I mean, if you tell me that you're still dealing with a lot of misconceptions about the word, how you use hacking, here in Europe, it's even more problematic. I think we're still further behind the curve when it comes to understanding the implications of hacking. For me, hacking means decoding. Finding out, taking responsibility. This word, it's been used now, it's becoming this little buzzword of like, we're going to be hacking the education system, or we're going to be hacking the healthcare system, which essentially means, like, we know it's kind of encrusted, it's outdated. Let's just break it up and find out what the better, more organic, more viable structure or system is. And in terms of hacking happiness, I think it's important to acknowledge, I mean, just talking about my own path with all of these things, whether it's meditation, yoga, nutritional regimes, etc., I over time realized, there's just not one thing that fits it all, one all be all. Sometimes I needed to really meditate and unwind and understand how my mind functions. And other times I really needed to know, how to eat more healthily. And other times I really needed to start my own business and needed to learn productivity skills and entrepreneurship knowledge in order to get that started. So hacking happiness is a real sort of a broad notion of like, let's bring in together expert and great minds from different fields and share their little insights and hacks from different areas, because I don't claim to know the answer to how you're going to be hacking your happiness. In fact, I think happiness means something different for each one of us. But we just assume that there's amazing wealth of research and great minds out there which can help us find out for ourselves.
Exactly. No, that's true. One of the most interesting things is that I had a friend recently tell me that, not to use the term hacking or biohacking, that it's very cliche and that people don't understand it. And I actually think it's the opposite. I think it's really on the precipice for growth. I think that it's a buzzword that's just really about to take off. And a funny story is a good friend of mine, we're working on a project together for a biohacking book. And his whole claim to fame was kind of the whole juicing vegetables and detox space. And he's told me, he said about a year and a half ago, everyone told him the same thing about the term juicing. They said, nobody's searching for that. That's, at the time, I think it was only getting like 3,000 searches a month on Google. So it was very,
Wow.
a very, very overlooked space at the time. And now, I mean, the guy's generating 7 figures a year from a, juicing blog and juicing products, and the guy's just killing it, because he saw that opportunity. He knew that this is on the precipice of just really about to blow up. And he said the same thing about biohacking. He said, this is the exact same thing again. This thing is really going to take off because it's like you said, people are looking for self-optimization, especially in this whole quantified self movement. It's already been kind of validated that people are looking to optimize every aspect of their lifestyle.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's also interesting for us that it's sort of a new demographic of people getting interested in these things. So we look at a demographic of people who are very cosmopolitan, hardworking, well-educated, and discriminating in what they consume, what they buy, what they engage with, and yet they have really busy lives and they are really stressed out sometimes, and they often feel really disconnected, and they know they have a problem, sometimes, they know they want to find ways how to feel better, or how to, maximize their potential. And it's really not that sort of, we're not in the times anymore where, this whole demographic was just really oblivious and didn't care about what meditation means or the implications of your diet. So we think there's a whole new demographic of people becoming interested in these themes, and yet they're underserved by the market of like supply of services and products, etc., which at the moment still, in my opinion, is still either very sort of pseudoscientific, i.e. too new agey, or it's too scientific, too academic, or it's just very outdated and, targeted at a different demographic of people, without being flippant, but like a lot of the stuff is just, catered towards middle-aged housewives, which has this fluffy sort of new agey feel to it, which a lot of people just don't dig. They want it in a well-researched, science-driven, yet also playful way. And that's what we are essentially trying to do.
That's awesome. What would you say some of the greatest obstacles you've had in, with health and fitness personally, and how did you overcome them?
I think, balance has been the one aspect which I'm always coming back to. Balance in not going into one extreme too much. My path started out as an avid meditator in my teen years, and then for many years was really, really into meditation, and just ran from one meditation retreat to another, and also lived in monasteries and lived in Burma, and then gradually came back to a more worldly, more cosmopolitan life. And also took care more of, my physical health and aspects of nutrition. And that kind of fine-tuning and balancing of the different aspects that make up your life is, for me, the most interesting thing, because you can become such a great athlete or such a great meditator. What does it really mean if many other areas of your life are lagging behind? So for me, it's like finding that center point where you can balance your natural capabilities in the most harmonious way. But that's just a very personal point of view. I'm sure a lot of people are really keen on like developing one skill or one aspect to the max, which is perfectly fine. But for me to stay grounded and stay sane in a way over time, and be happy, is balance is probably the most key aspect.
No, that's great. That's the stuff I preach all the time. I mean, just for my clients and a lot of the athletes I train, you know, the one thing I always preach is that they have to have balance in their schedule when it comes to their exercise. So many people, they do their cardio like a hamster, they do their strength training, but they don't think about the other variables like their, you know, quite literally their inner ear balance system, or I'll even have clients do vision drills and train their eyes. So I think that life,
Right.
you know, inherently it's a lot about balance, and specifically when it comes to health and fitness, it's not about just training one way or one modality. It's about truly, you know, integrating all aspects of the body and the brain to create balance.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So where do you get a lot of your information from? How do you stay on the cutting edge?
I mean, I've been reading a lot of books over the years, and you know, I follow the blogosphere as much as I can. At the moment, I'm pretty swamped with you know, working on the conference, but it's mainly sort of the blogosphere, Twitter, that helps me to stay on top. It's a lot about like filtering out the nuggets from the noise for me these days. So we have a couple of people here now on board who are starting to produce some editorial content, and they shoot me over whatever, you know, is interesting for them. I have to say that a lot of the stuff which is coming out now, like whether it's about nutrition or meditation or fitness, which is more sort of popular science stuff, which people rave about, is I think it's great. It's phenomenal, you know, that science is, you know, Western science is proving X, Y, Z. But some of the stuff is so sort of common sense and fundamental that, you know, it's just almost hilarious that, you know, it makes a big splash in some media outlet that, you know, the importance of sleep, or, you know, is organic food better than non-organic food? I mean, all these things, I think you can waste a lot of time researching or reading stuff, and just also sticking to your own intuition and experience, and learning from the sort of intimacy of your immediate experience is more often than not more, you know, valuable to me than just reading 3-4 hours a day some blog or a book.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. So who are some of your favorite people to follow in the health and fitness space?
Wow. I mean, in the health space, I do follow, I mean, I've been following here Daria Rose quite a bit. The fitness stuff, let me just pull up my Feedly so I can give you actually some names. I always don't really follow the names, but just the blog post. I mean, I think in terms of entrepreneurship and productivity stuff, 99U has been doing great work with their conference and their web platform of like spreading information about how to work more productively. Lifehacker has been an inspiration from the start of like just spreading a lot of valuable information on you know, biohacking and life hacking in general. Your Brain on Food was an interesting discovery for me. Zen Habits I always like for, you know, just a very contemplative take on what it means to you know, increase my performance, but at the same time just remain in a humble state. What else? Barking up the wrong tree. I sometimes follow Dan Ariely. I don't know if you know him. I like his stuff.
Nice.
What else? Gladwell sometimes. I have to say I haven't updated that in a while, so it's not really up to date. But I mean, this is kind of a cross section of things. As I was saying, here within the team, we now kind of filter the content which comes through. Also, quite a lot of like sort of classical media outlets, like whether it's the Harvard Business Review, which is posting quite a bit now on productivity stuff, or neuroscience, or Guy Kawasaki, people more in the entrepreneurship space. So it's more of a diverse mix of things.
Nice. Are there any books right now that you're reading that you would recommend to the audience?
Oh, wow. At the moment, I don't have the time to read anything that much, but like one book I really can always recommend anyone to have sort of an entry in sort of the contemplative side of things is the Norman Deutsch book, The Brain That Changes Itself.
Mm-hmm. Great book.
Which, really, really fascinating on combining sort of Western with Eastern stuff, and showing very simply how we are empowered to change our entire perception of life. I really like that. What else? I continue to come back to a guy called Ramana Maharshi. It's much more sort of non-dualistic meditation stuff, but that's just the kind of angle, and like my deeper interest is probably in meditation and contemplative stuff. But he has been a very visionary and incredibly influential figure in my life. So I keep on coming back to him. What else am I reading? Brain That Changes Itself is a good one. What did I read the last? Let me just get out my Kindle maybe to give you some names. Yeah, I mean, a fantastic. Maybe I'm a bit heavy here on the meditation stuff, but like a fantastic book is The Luminous Mind. It's called. The whole title is. Sorry for the delay here. I can definitely recommend that. Meditation and mind fitness. So it's really probably one of the most comprehensive and well-researched books on mind trainings. It's strictly non-dogmatic, non-religious, and has many incredible sort of practices on increasing mental performance. So it's called Luminous Mind. That's something I can wholeheartedly recommend to anyone. What I'm also quite interested in is sort of the psychotherapy or psychological side of things, of like discovering patterns, and so therefore, like things like Carl Rogers, he was a psychotherapist in 60s, 70s, 80s in the US. I read quite a bit of him. There's a good book on Becoming a Person, which is kind of a classic on discovering psychological patterns, which once discovered you really unearth them in a way, and you free yourself from them essentially over time. So that's another recommendation I can give. Yeah, what else? I really liked King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, which is a sort of a classic on male strength and male spirituality, or finding your own path kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, I could go on and on, but these are the ones which just stand out over the last few months.
Nice. So then, what's one simple thing you would recommend our listeners start with today to start hacking their happiness?
Today, that's a good question. I mean, it takes courage for anyone to break out of patterns and create new ones. It's essentially for me it's a process of turning inside and asking that question, who am I, and what do I want this life to be about? And I think we need more people who dare to really be the person they truly are, and not settle for some commodified, socially acceptable version of what is right or should be the right thing to do. There's so many levels of social, mental, emotional conditioning we have to break out of to really truly become a free person and unleash that unlimited life force that each one of us has. So quite practically speaking, you can just take out a piece of paper and just write down like the wildest dream of who you think you really are, and like what that would entail. And obviously there are dreams that you can make a difference between dreams that are super nice and rosy, but are just not really you. So I think it's interesting to dare to go deep into one's own intuition of who you think you really are. And you may sit there today and think, you're not a very athletic, sportive person, but you've always had this desire to become more vibrant and more healthy. And maybe that's where you should, turn to, and maybe that's where your life can evolve towards. And everything else kind of comes as a derivative, in my opinion, from that one, like that singular shift in perspective, and that turning towards one's ideal future self, and everything else, whether you're gonna take up a new diet or start a membership at the fitness club or pick up a book on psychology, neuroscience, or whatever, that is just a derivative of that initial turn of change in perspective of like, I really want, there's something more. I can break out of the confines of my life and become a lot more than I am today.
Nice. Really, really good stuff today, Sebastian. Where can the audience learn more about you?
Well, just follow us on hackinghappiness.co. So it's hacking-happiness.co. You'll find lots of information on the summit, on the conference itself, through the social channels, Twitter or Facebook. You can follow our movements. So beyond the conference in November here in London, we're going to try to build a sort of content platform to spread more information and good content on how to hack your happiness. And as a side note, we are coming to the US as well. We'll probably do a conference in May or June next year.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, keep me posted on that because I'll definitely be there.
Awesome. Okay, fantastic. It would be great to have you there and maybe some of your listeners as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for being on Exerscribe Radio today, Sebastian. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for taking the time.
All right. So, so I'll have this thing edited, and when I get it all up and posted, I'll send you guys a link to it.
Awesome. Sounds great.
All right. Perfect. Thanks for hanging tight today while I got this whole tech thing figured out.
Of course. No worries.
Yeah, keep me posted when you guys set up a thing for the U.S. I'll definitely be interested in checking that out.
That sounds great. It's probably going to be sort of May, June next year, and you're based in San Diego, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we're thinking of West Coast, so either LA or San Francisco.
Oh, nice. Yeah. If you need any speakers, let me know.
Awesome. Okay. Sounds great.
All right. Cool. All right.
Have
buddy.
a great day.
You too. Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Bye, man.
Bye-bye. If you haven't already, get your custom workout program by downloading the Exerscribe app from the iTunes App Store today.